Okay, welcome everyone to the Wednesday coaching call. My name is Omar Pinto, co-host Tori Skeen, and we're just going to dive right into today's coaching call with Travis. So Travis, how can we help?
So there's this point in my recovery where I want to learn how to ask myself healing questions about what the hell prison did to my life. And I don't know how to even begin understanding what kind of traumas happened in there or anything because it was just easy for me to like numb and roll it off of my back. But I'm relatively sure that prison had an impact on my life. I can't identify the things, but it's something that I really wanted to look into. And I just don't know how to ask myself the question. So hopefully you can dig up some things.
Okay. So prison had an impact in my life.
Yeah.
Correct? Right? So prison had a negative impact in my life or a positive impact in my life?
A little bit of both.
Okay.
A little bit of both.
So prison, let's just go. Prison impacted my life. Great. And what I learned in prison was
Oh gosh. Um, the rules of life that aren't available in everyday living, like I guess how to hustle, how to trade, how to stand up for myself. Obviously, I took courses like culinary trade. I learned a lot about like music and how to play guitar. I learned how to garden. I did a lot of weightlifting. I learned a lot about health. I got my GED, my diploma. I did a lot of stuff while I was in prison. I made my time very useful when I was away. Um,
yeah, I couldn't even keep track of all things that you were just saying there.
right?
So it was this was a form prison was a form of higher education.
Yes.
Okay. All right. All right. And what things or what learnings have been the most beneficial for you in the real world?
Um, I almost want to say like judging people or being able to tell sketchy happenings more easily, being more hip to debauchery and troubles and crime, and um, it's also heightened my own kind of sense of thinking criminal per se, just by being part of the other side. I guess I wasn't a CO, so I was an inmate. I had to learn how to survive in the atmosphere, and a part of that was, there's just a criminal mentality involved. Um, so I guess I even those are probably some of the bad traits that I picked up. How learning how to be a criminal, a better criminal, right? Like it's learning how to manipulate more, learning how to you know twist and bend the rules into my favor without breaking things. I guess it's still manipulating. Definitely standing up to authority and wanting to have my all of my fair fuck yous. You can't lock me up, even though you will, because I want to go home. So I have to abide by everything that's going on.
All right. So what which aspects of your criminal education do you um, use on a regular basis?
Uh, definitely manipulation.
Okay.
Scheming and plotting. I will
Yeah.
spend a lot of time scheming and plotting, and going over it with a very fine-tooth comb until I realize that I am getting pretty obsessed about this kind of thinking, and I probably
Mhm.
put this much effort into creating a plan or a scheme. Like it was just a joke, but for a while I was literally fantasizing on armored trucks and stuff. Like I would never go and do it, but I was still like, if like I had the opportunity, the perfect plan, I might do it. And I'm like, come on, dude, like, are you really gonna go steal an armored truck? Like, no, it's just insane. Um, but even just uh, that obsessive thinking on manipulating a situation and how can this best fit me? How can this best work out for me? Um, yeah.
Okay. So when you ask the question, okay, so what was the original question?
Wanting to learn how to ask myself to identify what, the traumas of prison, identifying the traumas of prison, good or bad.
Okay. All right. It feels like we've kind of gone there. Okay. We have some good things and we have some bad things, right? But ultimately, everything boils down to choice. I can either choose to act in a more criminal way, or I can choose to learn from the consequences I faced in my criminal life. And do things differently. So there seems to be like maybe some conflict between the benefits of one lifestyle versus another. Maybe.
Definitely, and that's very applicable to recovery as well.
Okay. All right. So if I rob an armored truck and I'm successful, what does that mean?
I am rich and I'm gonna get away with it short term unless I make it all the way to a country that doesn't extradite me. I can go loopholes and find myself a safe little place. But ultimately, what it means is that I had a successful plan, right? Like I successfully drew up a plan and got my desire. I guess with disregard for consequences, just chasing desire.
Regardless of the consequences. So, really, there's no real, just answering that question itself lands you right back to, well, this is a shenanigan. What am I doing thinking about this? All right.
Right.
I'm not going to rob an armored car. Okay. I'd love to rob an armored car so I can have a bunch of money and not have to work and not live with my parents or whatever it is that I don't want to deal with currently. I want to fast track where I'm at right now, and I'm ruminating about my prison life and what I learned in there. Is there something in my criminal past and what I learned in prison that can fast track my objective?
No, not in context of being a criminal. Um,
So then, if we were to talk about trauma, okay, and try and identify the trauma, right? Like what questions could I ask myself to identify the trauma or see how the trauma has affected my life? Is there a specific trauma?
I want to say that the traumas that I have is probably culture shock would be A, and B would be the experience of letting down my people, and um, I guess C would be the authority. I've always been one to rebuttal against authoritative figures, so even as a child, principal's office all the time, didn't want to do the schoolwork, and like I'd like cuss out teachers and all of those things. So especially when the COs had the lock and key, that kind of amplified that the control thing. I guess almost like a victim type thing, right? I guess.
Hmm. So let me tell you what's happening here. Right? So normally, while I'm asking questions and getting feedback, I'll get a download that'll allow me to move me into the next question. And I'm not getting any downloads. Like it, in other words, and like the thought that came to me is like, somehow we've gotten off track. It's the only thing that came to me. It's like somehow we got off track. So we need to get back on track. So what am I missing here, Travis?
If I had to guess, I could probably be over analyzing this situation, but I just think that prison just kind of put me in a different, like I didn't enter the same as I left. Like I wasn't the same. I went in as a kid. I was like 17, 18 years old. I came home at 21, failed parole. I did 18 months, went on the run to Idaho, got locked up, got extradited, which I was shackled on the back of a van for 14 days, fed McDonald's for 14 days straight. It was terrible. And then I came back to prison for another year. And I was inside of Jackson, which is basically just a big, massive brick wall. A lot of uh, drafty windows. It was in the middle of winter time. It was freezing cold. Not very humane. I remember sitting outside during yard with the possibility of maybe getting on the phone, but I would stand outside wasting, not really wasting, but my only free time would be often be outside standing in line to use the phone, just freezing my ass off just to hopefully call home and, tell the people that I'm all right, but um, I don't really think that I was, because I was kind of just checking into, it was kind of just like, I'm telling you the things that you want to hear so you won't worry about me. But inside, like I still have all of this pain that I'm running from, that I've still been running from. And that's why it was easy for me to relapse so frequently when I wasn't in recovery, because this similar issues that happened to me in prison were, there have been similar issues throughout my life. It was just a different environment. It was a lot more hardened environment. There was a lot of violence involved. Like people didn't really. If I misspoke, I got punched. I mean, I got punched several times. I got in several fights for being disrespectful. Um, and having to lie to COs so that I wouldn't go into segregation, so that I would have an opportunity to come home. Um, so yeah, there was just a lot of extreme circumstances that I put myself through.
Okay, so something is finally coming to me. But first, before we go there, let's see. Let's see if any of this lands for you. Okay, so let's see here. Let's see. Leo wrote, prison was a pause. Eric wrote, evaluating people, adaptability. Tori wrote, escapism. Maybe prison is a big part of your recovery. Don't look for shit in something that was positive. And remember, you made it something good. Old Travis was left behind. He wants you to mourn him. Still in survival mode. Does any of that feel accurate?
I would definitely say the survival mode part, because I've just kind of felt like I've been running. Like, it hasn't really mattered where I laid my head to rest or what I achieved. I was always just like, life or death. Keep going. Keep going harder. Especially with the adaptability and the evaluating people as well. Like that was it. It amplified my chameleon effect times 10. I was already a really good chameleon. It definitely magnified it, just because, again, I had to be careful of who I associated with and in the streets that I was walking. I didn't want to. There's a lot of bad possibilities that can happen if you don't take proper precautions to protect oneself. So, and in a lot of, in some ways I was able to express myself, and in other ways I had to be really conservative and reserved, because I didn't want to get killed. I didn't want to get, a nasty scar on my face or whatever. Yeah.
Okay. So before you went into prison, okay, and after you came out of prison, okay, were you a chameleon before, or did you become a chameleon during?
I was a chameleon before.
And did you always tell the people around you that you were okay, even though you weren't?
Yep.
Okay. So now we're getting somewhere. So it's not about the old Travis or a version of Travis going in and another version of Travis coming out. It's the same version of Travis going through the prison system and not being able to resolve this inability to be vulnerable, to be authentic, to share your truth. This idea, one of the first things that came up was how to be a better criminal, how to manipulation, chameleon, manipulation, lies, disingenuous. I don't want the people closest to me to know the real me. And that's still a part of my life today. For what reason are you hiding?
I mean, if I had to guess, it would. I've got to say, it's probably back to, Eric asked me, do I even know the real Travis? And I mean, there are times in my life when I think that I do, but looking back at it, how many of my things, especially in childhood, I was doing things to gain the attention and approval of my parents. They weren't always available for me, and sports were one of the easiest ways for me to get that attention. And for the longest time, like, I enjoyed sports, but I just think that the reason that I'm running or hiding my true authentic self is because one, I haven't known how to express myself authentically because I was always trying to be approved in the eyes of somebody else because I knew that those would get me high approval. And at that point, it was either negative consequences or positive consequences. Um, and then obviously, the same standard applies in prison. There's good and bad consequences. Good ways to earn attention, bad ways to earn attention. I could, and obviously I did good things with myself. So I earned a good rapport with the COs. So I had a little bit of flexibility on the trust factor. Um, but again, it was just how can I get out of my cell? This so and so is going to be working second shift, and I'm a porter, and I know that I can bullshit way beyond my detail, right? So I'm not going to be in my cell for 5 hours. Um, so yeah, um,
That sounds like good negotiation skills, Travis.
yeah, right.
Like there's two ways of looking at this. All of a sudden I hear that, well, this Travis knows how to negotiate effectively. Words have so much power. So I can be a greasy, manipulative weasel, okay? Or I can be an effective communicator and negotiator.
Right.
I can hide the real me from my family, or I can be strong for them. Yes, it's hard in here. Yes, it's tough in here. Do they need to know about it? Absolutely not. How would it benefit them to know that I'm struggling in here or I'm afraid? So, what's coming to me now is this strength, nobility, um, the ability to communicate effectively, even in the most difficult and strenuous of times. I develop the ability to communicate effectively for self-preservation. Valor, rigorous honesty. I don't know about the rigorous honesty part though, Leo. Valor, balance, trust in yourself. Ooh, rigorous honesty with yourself. Very good, Leo. Very good. Yes. Being true to me is more important than being true with others, especially when they don't understand what's happening with me and what's happening inside. So I'm strong for them. It's nobility. It's strength. It's trusting in yourself. So as this starts to surface, does anything come to mind?
To be honest, I guess in many of the ways when I was in prison, I was doing pretty decent for myself. There was a lot less distractions going on. But I mean, I guess in a lot of ways, because I was removed from my family, it did give me an opportunity to kind of um, to play around with discovering who I wanted to be or who I was, and not so much be a chameleon as much as just so and so is a good person and we have things in common, so I'm gonna spend my time with so and so. As compared to just so and so is gonna give me a good word, so I'm gonna be their friend. Um,
So it goes back to what Eric would mention in the first place. who is the real Travis? I went through this whole experience. Okay. I went into prison one person. I came out of prison another person. I still don't know who I am.
Right.
Am I this ex-con? Am I a criminal? Am I rehabilitated? What am I?
Definitely a lot of confusion.
So would you say that that's really the only question?
No, I guess. I think that there are good pieces of information for me to evaluate from my experience in prison that I have not had an opportunity to do so. But I definitely, I guess, upon speaking about these things, is that I definitely do still struggle with an identity crisis.
And, we had the same conversation last week with Sarah, and it is about vulnerability. And there are things that happen in prison, just like things that happen to her, that very few people know about. And there's probably either anger, resentment, shame, guilt, any number of negative feelings associated with this. But ultimately, the fact that you haven't been able to really come clean, so to speak, of some of these things. Because I can't even imagine being in prison. Okay. I've watched so many prison type movies and shows. Okay. Like, I think about going to prison, I immediately turn white. Okay. And I'm already white. Okay. Like, I am just terrified of the meat puppet I would be in there. Okay. I have zero survival skills. And so being in prison in a confined space with other criminals and criminal shit going on, there are stories and there are trauma and there are things that have happened that you've not been able to process completely. Would that be fair?
Yes.
So what it sounds like to me is the same thing. That at some point I am going to have to, it's almost like it's knocking on the door. Right? Like I'm creeping around this topic of, what better questions should I be asking myself about any potential trauma that could have happened to me in prison? Instead of, there is some fucked up shit that happened to me in prison and I've never fucking talked to anybody about it because I don't know who I can trust. And it's eating me for breakfast. Eric, go ahead.
Yeah, first off, Travis, I just had to say I congratulate you for saying something about this and realizing it. Because I spent, when I was in the Marine Corps, I spent 14 months in Iraq, and it probably took me 12, 13 years to even come to thought that it had some sort of effect on me. And then once I started asking the questions of whether it had effect on me, then it was like, well, of course it has some effect on me. And now it's pretty much like, obviously going to war had some sort of effect on you. It's ridiculous to think that it didn't have some sort of effect on me. And I'm sure it's the same thing like Omar was saying about prison. It did have some sort of effect on you. Of course, how could it not, being in that type of environment? It has effect on anybody who's in there. The question is, what type of effect is that? And then, but I don't know how long ago you got out, but I mean, asking that question already is already pretty good. For me, the first step was actually to forgive myself for not asking that question sooner, and forgiving myself for the experience as well. Like, and then after that, it was, kind of to accept that I can't change it. I wish I could have go back and make things different about what happened, but I can't do anything about that. And then it was to be, to what I had. And that's why, I was kind of saying, like, you did get a good lesson on judging people, except I wouldn't say judging people. I would say more evaluating people, because it's that same language. And then, of course, being in prison and surviving, you had to be pretty adaptable. So you have a huge adaptability of, if you could survive in prison, you could probably survive in a lot of different places. So those are just a couple of things that, I just wanted to mention. And that's kind of where I started at with mine, was just forgiving myself, and then trying to be, accept that I can't do anything about it. And then, finding some sort of gratitude in it, and, whatever sort of lessons you can learn from it. And, it's still an ongoing process. I'm still going through counseling right now. I'm working with it and talking to them and talking more and exploring this, my combat experience. But, I just wanted to say it's good that you're thinking of that stuff right now.
Thank you.
Brilliant.
Yeah, that's real good, and I don't even know if I've even given myself forgiveness for the whole experience, right? Like, I forgave myself for committing the crimes at the moment for that, but the actual experience of forgiveness, and telling myself that it's okay, like, that's, I think that is a huge step. I definitely think that is a huge step.
It's and really important too is this idea of, forgiving the thoughts, right? Because that's really what Eric's mostly alluding to as well. It's like, I chose to believe something about what happened. I chose to create a meaning. I developed a story. I developed a meaning. I developed a belief system about what happened, about what that means about me, or who I am because of it. So it's really more, there's nothing that I can do about the behavior or the actions or the time. It's really more about forgiving myself for believing the stories that I chose to believe, for believing the stories that I told myself about me, that whatever those stories might be. And at some point, what happens is that irritable, restless, discontent feeling that starts to come up, right, is the calling for that forgiveness, for that love, for, hey, Travis, we've been through a lot, buddy, and we've survived quite a bit. And it's made us a better human being, a stronger human being. It's made us someone that is a good judge of character, is able to adapt quickly, is able to assess situations based on energy, based on circumstance. You walk into a room and your body just starts to tell you everything you need to know.
Yep.
It's a gift. It is a gift that I have spider senses that are 10 times more powerful than normal humans. And so really it's about acknowledging and honoring who you have become, because as you start to recognize who you have become, you might discover who you really are.
Makes sense.
So what's coming up for you now?
I think that in a lot of ways, I did learn a lot of skills in prison that made me a better man and a better human being, but I feel like it was crazy to say, like, yeah, prison made me a better person. Like, I went to prison and rehabilitated, like, the prison system worked on me. Go figure, right? Like, But then it's just like coming home with those skills, and how do I apply those practically in the workforce? Or, I can't use my spidey senses to pay bills and stuff. And I came across, I think, coming forward to it now, one of the biggest traumas I've had was with housing and employment. A lot of rejection just because of a felony. I had great interviews. I've had managers offer me a job only to be turned down by the corporation in Pittsburgh or California, saying, no, we don't accept felons, regardless of how well your interview went and how good of a worker he is. He's not going to work for our company. And that's just a really big dagger to the soul. Like, here I am thinking I've got this great job, that's going to get me out of the kitchen or a factory. And I can't, because I've got this 20-ton chain of the F word, of felony, of behind me. And my state has made good progress in removing those questions from the interviews, but it still doesn't. Sometimes I walk into like a public place, feel like I'm painted red. Like everybody knows my whole history. And I know that I'm making that up. It's all anxiety within my head, but especially when I came home on parole and I was on tether, I felt so uncomfortable. Even going to the grocery store, like going to the gas station, like doing anything. I always felt like I was going to be judged, like I was going to be felt insignificant. Like, what's wrong with that dude? Why does he have a tether on? And then all of like the crazy horror story movies come where like with the criminals coming by and you see like the mom pull their child in real tight. Like, look at that guy. Like, don't go around him. Like, I had all those feelings. Like I was just some horrendous monster. And it has been challenging. I'm not on a tether anymore, but it has been challenging even to re-enter public comfortably. I went to a movie for the first time last year with my ex-girlfriend, and I was like literally wanted to put my hands in her back pocket, like lead me around. I have so much social anxiety, fear right now, like um like do the work for me. I don't want to do this right now. And it's just something as simple as going to a movie freaked me out.
What will other people think?
Yeah, my identity crisis.
Mm-hmm. Well, we're getting closer now. We're getting
Right.
much, much closer. It's not so much an identity crisis. It's more of a rejection of your identity.
Fair enough.
What will other people say? What will other people think? So the trauma is more about the consequences that you're facing outside of prison.
Yeah.
This is housing, employment, being honest with people. This is not what was going on inside of prison. This is now that I'm out and I've paid my dues and I am rehabilitated, I am being alienated from the normal privileges that non-ex-cons get.
Yeah.
I'm frustrated.
No. And it sucked because I wanted to file lawsuits for discrimination, but that doesn't exist. Like I can't even fight for myself in some cases.
All right. So this is so now I'll tell you a story, Travis. Okay. So I didn't spend any time in prison. However, I never got a bachelor's degree, bachelor's in science. I never finished college. Okay. I struggled terribly in school. I graduated high school with, I think, a 2.3 GPA. Okay. I just slid out of the school system, right? And I was fortunate enough to be accepted to community college, where anyone with a checkbook can be accepted, and struggled in community college. Okay. And so there was a big part of me that had no idea how I was going to make it in this world. Meanwhile, my sister, a 4.0 student, whizzed through, got her bachelor's degree before I was still in college when she graduated. Okay. I was floundering, changing majors back and forth. She got a great job right out of college, working for Variety magazine, right? And I'm assistant manager at a Mexican restaurant in LA, right? So there was a big part of me that was like, yeah, I didn't go to prison, and I'm not going to be turned down for a job because I have a felony on my record, but I don't have a college degree. I don't have a certification in something. I have a long list of jobs. What am I going to do? And Travis, I floundered in my life for a good 20 years. From one job to another job, to one profession to another profession, trying to figure out my identity and who I was. And in the midst of all that, developed a horrific addiction to cocaine. What I have come to recognize is that school was never the way for me. And if I would have gone to school and gotten the education and done whatever it is that I was supposed to be doing based on somebody else's standards that weren't mine, I would be doing something that I don't love, and that would make me probably miserable. And so sometimes life has a very powerful way of guiding us to our purpose. And the harder the struggle, the more powerful the suffering and the pain, the more learning we get, the more guidance that we get. There is a blueprint inside of you, Travis. It exists. None of this is for naught. You have a greater calling than the regular job or whatever you're not currently getting. And when there's two schools of thoughts. I can burn the boats, or the universe can help burn the boats for me. And when I no longer have access to certain things, it forces me to go in the direction that I'm supposed to be going into. So you have to ask yourself, Travis, what is it that inspires you? What is it that drives you? What is it that brings you happiness? What is it that brings you joy? Because there's a part of you that's still trying to be the chameleon so it can fit into a world that doesn't belong to you. Reject the chameleon, let go of trying to fit in, and allow yourself to connect with who the real Travis is. Like, we'll go, full circle. Who is the real Travis, and what is his purpose here? And you learned a lot of things in prison. Skills that other people can use, that other men can use. What is your purpose, Travis? That is the only question.
It's interesting because I think one of my greatest passions and one of my best blessings and gifts is words, whether it's speaking or writing them. Um, it gives me so much. Like, I love, especially when it comes to writing, when I have to go down rabbit holes for research and to find out good information and facts. Like, being an investigator is very good at what I'm doing, or a very good talent for me. So researching topics is really beneficial to me. Writing gives me joy. It takes a long time to be able to make income that way. So I think a lot of this is starting to come up because I'm at a point in my life where I have to pick up a part-time job for 15 to 20 hours. And there is the little bit of, I know where I can and cannot go. You know, I've made myself a good resume. But one of the things that I have to do in order before I make it, uh, before I make enough money as a writer by exposure or however to pay for my bills, I have to find a means of income. And that kills me because from my experiences before, my job field is a factory, which is basically like a prison, or a kitchen, which is basically like a prison. And I've I've had a few jobs that weren't factory or kitchen related, but they didn't last long. And I think that a lot of this is stemming up because I know that I have to get a job. I have to pay bills. I have to get my dog food or he won't survive. If I don't get my dog food, I'm going to lose my best friend, you know? But there's also the other side of it where I can say, like, I know that I need to do something to get to the other side. Like, it's not going to be given to me. I have to go through some amount of discomfort and hard work to get what I want. And what I want is to kick my feet up and write in the morning and go out and play with my veggies because I have enough money to do that. Right? I want to live in a self-sufficient home. And I want to spend a lot of my time working on a garden and feeding myself, you know, and just being at one with nature. That's what I love. I love plants and I love writing. And that's what I want to do with my life. I want to help plants, I want to help people, and I want to write a lot.
You're very clear, Travis, and you've always been very clear about what your passion is. And it's through your writing that you will be able to express yourself the most effectively. There are many, 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 many vehicles for writing. There is blogging, there is content writing, there is screenwriting, there is all types of writing. There is Fiverr, there is Upwork. Is it Upwork? Okay. There's and for those, no one's going to ask you if you have a prison record. When I get trapped in the box that was created for me by the system, then I start talking just like the way the box wants me to talk. Well, I have to get a job and I have to pay for my rent and I have to pay for my dog and I have to. And what that prevents me from doing is saying, okay, I want to write. How many different ways is there to make money as a writer? And it is in the thousands. And if I'm a good writer, I don't have to work for anyone. I'm an independent contractor. So I can get myself a side hustle so I can pay for the dog food and my top ramen, because we've all been there. We've all been there eating top ramen.
Right
yeah.
Here, man.
Okay. I used to have a whole shelf of tuna cans and top ramen.
That's right.
Hey, peanut butter and jelly. We've all been there. Mac and cheese in a box.
Yes, sir.
Okay, buddy, I have been there. Living the dream. of single broke rock star. Okay. Been there, done that. It is a part of the journey, the struggle and the suffering. And I went through it, so I can tell you, I've been there. I know the place that you are in. I gotta. And yes, you gotta. But it's like side hustle is the job. But the passion is a podcast. It is a blog. It is my own website. It is freelance writer. And the better you are as a writer, it is going to land on somebody's desk and they say, we need this guy. And if somebody were to say, hey, listen, we're looking for a freelance writer, right? We're going to pay you blah, 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 X amount, right? And miraculously, it covers all your expenses and more. What would you say then?
It would have to be a pretty good deal. It would also depend on where I'm at in my life. You know, if someone gave me a good contract I would probably say no, just because I promised myself that I would never sign a contract because of money. It would have to depend on what the details of the job were, because I guess if it were landed to me right now, I would take it as a get out. But if I was put in the shoes of a successful writer with that contract, I would, I don't know if I want to close myself off just to one door.
Tori, jump in, Tori. Are you listening to this?
I have been just like, I want to talk so bad.
I got to mute because I'm just.
I mean, like, I can relate to this, Travis, like to everything you're saying, just like with the, trying, what you want to do is right because, hold on. Because that's literally all I wanted to do. But like, I didn't have like a foot to stand on, at the time. And so like, cause I was like, how am I going to get a job writing if like, I haven't done it before? I don't know, like, I don't, and so I had a job at literally a call room in South Florida, and I would reach out to people and say, hey, I'll write for you for, pennies, because this is what I want to do, and ultimately like that landed me to like what I do today, which is not all writing, but it's not like I love it even more, and it's just more of that. I've learned to love it. And so, it was, for me, it was just about getting my foot in the door, like getting some sort of like substance so that I had something to like back up, like, hey, I've done X, Y, and Z. Now, like, this is what you have to hire me, And while I was fucking, eating top ramen and like working during the day or doing whatever like I had to do to like do what I wanted to do, so that's all I have to say. But anyway.
We've come full circle in this hour. And for anyone here that knows about limiting beliefs, they just heard Travis's. First is, well, I have to get a job because my dog has to eat. First, I get the bleeding heart victim story. Then I say, what would happen if you got offered a job writing, covering all your expenses and more? Oh, well, I wouldn't do it because I promised myself I'd never write for money. Did any of that just land for you, Travis? Did you just... I'm hoping that you recognize that inside your internal dialogue is, I work at shitty jobs for money and I write for free.
Right.
Why would you not? What is the belief system correlated with this idea of I don't work for money. I don't write for money. What was it? I'm glad we recorded this. What was the specific thing that you said?
I made a promise to myself that I wouldn't take a job solely because of monetary benefits.
But I need to feed my dog.
Exactly. So like the way I view money is it's a useful tool that helps the things that I need or want, but it has never been a reason why I've accepted a job. Like,
okay. So if you were to be offered a writing job, if you were to be offered a writing job, which is what you love, so you would be doing what you love and getting paid for it, why would you still not take it?
because I wouldn't know what to do with it, I guess. I don't know. I'm stuck in this little bullshit world.
I had no idea Travis was in the victim role. He doesn't come off as a victim. Travis does not come off as a victim, and we finally landed. We finally landed.
Yep. I play all of the roles. I am a chameleon.
You are a chameleon. You are a chameleon. The only thing you have to do, Travis, is give yourself permission to do what you love. You're a talented young man. Okay. You survived prison. You came out with a tremendous amount of resources. You have a talent for writing. And the only thing you have to do is, I'll go back to what Eric said now, is forgive yourself. Forgive yourself for ever believing that you weren't good enough, for ever believing that it was somehow inappropriate to charge money for what you love and what you are passionate about, for believing that you couldn't do it, for believing that it would be too much, for believing that you can't handle it. All of this is what's swimming around in your head. What if I get the job and I fail? What if I can't handle the pressure? What if I'm not good enough?
What if Rome was built in a day?
What if it was built in 5 years? What if it was built in 50? Who cares?
What if you just do it?
Yeah. What if you just do it? What if you just said yes?
It would be a life-changing experience.
Right for dog food. That's funny.
If they need a writer, hit me up. I'll write for IAMS. I'll write for Wild. I don't get whoever. I'll write.
You hit them up. You email them. Email all the dog food companies. I have a task for you. Next week, I'm coming back. I want to see that you've contacted all the dog food companies and that you got a dog. Try it. Give it a go. You can do it. You talk all right. I'm sure you can write fine.
Are you afraid to fail?
No, I embrace failure because it makes me smarter and it makes me better. Failure is the only way to success, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, I don't know anybody who succeeded without failing significantly. I'm a again.
Travis, let me be very, very clear for you. Let me be very, very clear who I am. I would never work for free. I only work for money. So at some point, I have to decide what side of the fence I want to be on. And I used to be on the side of that. I used to be on the 99%. I recused myself, abandoned ship, and jumped on the 1% side. And I said, no more. I will not suffer and I will not sacrifice who I am and what I do for nothing. I know who I am. I know what my capabilities are. I know what my value is. And if I cannot recognize my own value, then that's where the work begins. That is the only work that needs to be done, is recognizing your own value. Until you recognize your own value, then you will not feel worthy of charging for it. Money's become this thing, this God, this thing that we worship. Money is like water and like food. It's a resource. It's what we need to survive. I need water. I need food. I need money. That's it. There's nothing, whatever. I must remove all the limiting beliefs I currently have about money, or I will continue to repel it like the plague. And I can blame being a convict, and I can blame there's not jobs, and I can blame anything else. But ultimately, it all falls on my belief systems about money. I forgive myself for ever believing that money was the problem, or that prison is the problem. The only problem is what we choose to believe. And if I believe that I can do more things, be a better human, help more people, take care of my dog better, then I also recognize that I'm going to need money in order to fulfill everything that I ever wanted to do. That's just a part of living in this world. I can't live in this world. I can't thrive in this world without money. So I cannot villainize it. I must embrace that this is part of the construct. This is part of the matrix. It's not money's fault any more than it is a gun's fault. It's what you choose to do with it that matters. It doesn't define you. What's coming up for you?
My passion stems deep for money and economics. But it is a very resourceful tool. And I don't think that I haven't thought of it in terms of me villainizing money as a bad thing, but it is one of the keys to many of the things that I want to achieve in my life. I will need a source of, money, trade to, get my house and the gardening and all those, the big yard for zoos to run around and all of that shit. I will need money for. But I gotta be honest with you. I don't think that an hour ago that money would have came up in this topic of conversation, but whatever.
Most people, as you've been enough of these calls, Travis, it never ends up where they thought it was going to end up. It always starts off with the softball and ends up with the hardball. Because really, it's belief systems and mindsets are the only thing that prevent us from having the life we truly deserve. And again, it boils down to forgiving ourselves for ever believing any of the stories that I've told myself that have prevented me from becoming the human being that I can be and that I am. I forgive myself for ever believing that money was the problem. I love money. Just like I love my favorite restaurant. I can sit around all day long and talk about my favorite steakhouse. What's your favorite restaurant, Travis?
Gosh, I don't even know. Anywhere that sells sandwiches. I like sandwiches. So
Perfect. So if I go to my favorite restaurant that's got my favorite sandwich, what am I going to need to eat that sandwich?
a big appetite.
And
Money.
yes, when I go to on our anniversary, we go to a very expensive steakhouse here in Costa Rica. It is our favorite, right? And the last thing I do is look at the prices. And for many, many years of my life, the only thing that I would look at on a menu was the price. I would find the most inexpensive thing on the menu, and that's what I would order. And today, I do not look for the most expensive. I do not look for the least expensive. I look for the one that looks like the best for me. And I enjoy the shit out of it. And when I run out of underwear, you know what I do?
Get more?
I go to the mall and buy me some underwear with my money. You know what my wife and I are building? A big ass fucking house on almost 2 acres. It's a lot of money. At some point, Travis, all the things that we love, space, the nature, gardening, time, our pets, our family. Money has to be a part of the equation in order for us to live the life that we want to live, whether we like it or not. And the only thing I have to change is how I choose and what I choose to believe about it. This is your work, brother. It's not about the job. It's not about being a felon. It's not about the trauma. This is about changing your belief systems about money. And buddy, I have no doubt that you'll be fucking writing for a newspaper or for a fucking movie company or for some sort of, blog, whatever. Like almost instantly, as soon as you change your beliefs about money, so do your opportunities. Tori, would you agree or disagree?
I absolutely agree because I've talked about this with Omar before many times. So, yeah.
All right. This was like hard shift in the coaching call, but I absolutely love it because anyone listening to this right now needs to hear this, Travis. It is such an uncomfortable pill to swallow when we first start the process of changing our belief systems about money. Eric?
Yeah.
You unmuted, so I thought you wanted to say something.
Oh, no, I typed it in there.
The false belief is that money leads to happiness, but money gives you freedom to be happy. You know, nothing gives you happiness except you. Money does provide you with a lot of freedom. That's what it does. What you do with that freedom is entirely up to you. Any questions?
No, but I gotta say that one of my biggest insecurities in life is financial. So we're on to something.
Big applause for Travis. He's reeling right now. I see him. He's just like, just got fucking hit by Mike Tyson. And he's just like, I see him reeling. His brain's just like. So I'm sending you so much love.
Thank you.
From the bottom of my heart. Know how much I love you.
Thank you. I love you as well. And I appreciate you giving me the space and the guidance that I needed. I needed to make this call.
Take a deep breath in. Deep breath in. There you go. Deep breath in. Abundance. Scarcity. You're ready, my friend. You are ready, my friend. All right. We're going to check in on you next week. All right. We went way over, so we're going to shut her down. But big love for Travis, man. This is a very important coaching call because so many of us struggle with money, and it's not the money that we struggle with. It's the belief systems that we have developed about money. Because money is fucking awesome. Just like my favorite steak. I love you all. See you next week.